Welcome back to the MMA Plug, streaming live on milehighsports.com and on 98.1 FM. I'm excited to welcome in our first guest. She is a fixture in the top 10 of the UFC women's strawweight division, a former Invicta FC champion, veteran of 26 professional fights, and is originally from our great state of Colorado, the pride of Aurora Central High. Thrilled to welcome in the Karate Hottie, Michelle Waterson. Hey, Michelle, it's your Colorado connection of Ron Kruck and Jordan Kurtz. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so good to be here, guys. I'm glad to be able to represent Colorado and Aurora Central. And, you know, my roots out there, you know, they grow deep. My family's still out there. So for sure, you know, I still have lots of love for Colorado. Of
course. You know, it just seems like because you've been training at Jackson Wink MMA Academy for so long, it's almost like you're from Albuquerque. But like you said, Colorado roots here. So I want to take a little step back and talk about, you know, the good old days. And for fans who may just be hearing you for the first time here in Denver on the radio, just how you got into the sport. So you graduate from Aurora Central High. I believe you went to DU. And yep. Then you go into MMA. So take us through the journey, Michelle.
Well, I grew up doing martial arts. I had an older brother, and I wanted to be just like him. So, you know, when he took a liking to martial arts, so did I, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. We started training at a little kind of community church. And it was a little martial arts studio called Quest Academy. And that's definitely what it was. It was the start of my quest. And I knew from then on that I wanted martial arts to be a part of my life. I went on to do to go to DU, like you said. And while I was at DU, to pay for my college, I started working at Hooters. And yes. There, I got a lot of like side jobs. I did, the Hooters calendar, and I actually got a side gig doing, being a ring girl for an MMA, local MMA organization. And, and that's kind of the first that I was introduced to MMA. I had no idea. I thought that, in my mind, I thought it was like, WWE. I thought it was like choreographed wrestling. Right. But when I realized that it was real, mixed martial arts, you could do whatever martial art you want to win the fight. I took an interest. But the promoter there kind of didn't take me too seriously. It's funny how things come full circle, because I think Donald Cerrone was headlining one of the shows that I was being a ring girl at, and had overheard me. Came into my work and said if I was serious about training, to get my butt in the gym. And from there, my career took off. I fought an undercard of a Ring of Fire.
Sven Bean, right?
Being one of the first shows Amazing. To be at the Broomfield Event Center. I think my pro debut, it wasn't meant to be pro debut, but the girl that I was supposed to fight for my first amateur MMA fight fell through. And the only girl that they had available was a professional fighter that was 2-0. And so I kind of was I guess it's in my blood to say, let's just do it. So couple weeks after my 21st birthday, I took my pro debut with no amateur experience, and ended up winning that fight. And my life has just been so amazing since then. I was on Master Tottie's Fight Girls. I did Bully Beatdown. I fought for Invicta, like you said. The majority of my career before I had Araya and after I had Araya, I was fought at 105. And then, Dana ended up opening up women's division in the UFC. And I felt the water getting a little warmer. He had it open for the 35ers, and it was just kind of hoping and praying that he'd open it up for all the girls. And then there was an opening for the strawweight division. And from there, I decided to take the leap again. All right, let's go. Accept the challenge. So I went from 105 to 115 to make my way into the UFC. And since then, this fight on May 8th is going to be my fourth UFC main event. So I'm really excited.
So as far as that goes, just to kind of circle it back with the Colorado connection, now that you have excelled to the heights throughout your career and you've had one of the most prolific careers in women's MMA, what does that mean for you to have that connection with, being from Denver and from Colorado and the UFC having its birth in Colorado?
I just, it is kind of destiny, I guess, is how I look at it. You know what I mean? I don't think in a million years, if you ask any of my friends from high school, if I was going to grow up to become a professional fighter, they would probably laugh at you, because I'm the most like fun loving, come on guys, like, sunshine and rainbows type of person. I was never ever confrontational. I didn't like to fight. I was like a very peaceful martial artist, and fighting it really did change my life in a way that I understood combat in an art form. But for sure, like it just speaks to the heart of where I grew up in Aurora, Colorado. I feel like I grew up in a really diverse neighborhood, and I was a cheerleader at Aurora Central.
Toughest cheerleader out there, I'm sure.
We never won a football game all 4 years that I was there.
Oh.
So it was like one of those things. It was kind of like, I always had these huge dreams, and I didn't want, the circumstances of where I grew up or any of that to affect my dreams. And I think that speaks volumes, is that no matter what your circumstances are in life, if you are determined enough to go after your dreams, then you will make it happen.
So true. That is very well put. And it's got you where you are today. As you said, your fourth main event in the UFC, an incredible 18-8 record, all coming from right here. It started here in Colorado. Michelle, you're like one of the veterans down there now at Jackson Wink. How long have you been training there, and why have you really bucked the trend of a lot of fighters these days who seem to want to move on to different gyms? You really haven't. You've been there. So let's start with how long you've been there and why you have stayed.
Gosh, I've been at Jackson Wink forever. I remember it. I was there when, I wasn't there as long as Holly, as long as Holly's been there. But I was there for a long time. I want to say 07, 08 is when I got down there. When I first got down there, Julie Kidsey just started training there. Holly hadn't even gotten into MMA by then. She was still strictly boxing. The big guys at that time were Rashad Evans, George St. Pierre, Keith Jardine, Joey Villasenor. These were our big guys. You know what I mean? Sure. The guys. And then it's just been an incredible ride to see the evolution of different top-notch fighters come through the doors. And I think the reason why I've stayed is because I enjoy having, a home base. Jackson Wink is more than just a gym to me. It's family. I do consider myself a loyal person. And I strongly believe that as a fighter, your journey is your own. And there's only so much that, obviously I've learned so much from my coaches. And honestly, I still do believe that Jackson Wink is one of the best gyms in the world. There's people that come to Jackson's from all around the world, between Professor Barata, who lives out in Albuquerque, and Joey Villasenor, who is now, our main amateur coach, Coach Wink, Coach Jackson. And we have so many different people out there. Between their knowledge and the influx of people coming in from all around the world, I am continually evolving, which is what I love. And I also feel like when I lose, I have to take it upon myself to do some introspective, work and see what it is that I was missing. What puzzle did I forget to put into place? What tools did I forget to bring with me to the fight, or what tools did I forget to sharpen? Because at the end of the day, it is me inside that octagon.
You've won 4 of the last 6. Is being mom champ still the ultimate goal?
It is, but you know what? I almost feel like it's more important for me now to be in the moment. It's more important for me now to look at the fight ahead of me and to take that as serious. And if I just, to me, I feel like mom champ has a different ring to me. I feel like, winning each fight with my head on my shoulders, continuing to hold my dignity and my integrity, and to be there for my daughter and to continue to train. And like you said, I've been at Jackson's for so long that I've kind of become one of the veterans over there. So trying to be a mentor to the new up and comers coming in, I think being able to balance all those things and continue to fight and reach for my own dreams in itself is being mom champ.
So cool. We are speaking with Colorado's own Michelle Waterson, who gets her 4th UFC main event this weekend. Michelle, you're also making your 2021 debut, and you move up to flyweight for this short notice matchup with Marina Rodriguez. There have been a lot of changes to this card. So just give us an idea. How did this fight with Rodriguez come to fruition?
We're really wanting to make this work in May, and we're working with the UFC to try to make it work. It was going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. It was up in the air. And it was just kind of something that, in my mind, for a long time, I felt like I had to have a specific game plan for a specific fighter with specific amount of weeks. But I've just come to a comfortability with myself and my skills that I've been fighting for over 15 years professionally. I've been a martial artist, for more than half of my life. And so I need to be able to roll with the punches and take the circumstances as they come. And when they approached us for the fight and they said that it was going to be at flyweight, my perspective on it at first was like, holy moly, that's like next week, isn't it?
Right.
And then, just like all these thoughts rushed through my head, and I was hit with a bag of butterflies instead of a bag of potatoes. And I just remember thinking, when I was talking to Josh about this, and I was saying, it's kind of like when you're at the eating sushi and the sushi train goes by. And if you don't take the opportunity to take the sushi you want, it's going to pass you by.
Gone.
And I just saw this as an opportunity to snatch up. And if I didn't say yes, then somebody else would, and I would be mad.
Very well put right there. So I guess to ask you then, it's obviously it's a very last second change to be bumped up to that main card slot and having a couple of extra rounds thrown in the mix. How did that weigh into the equation for you? What's your thought on that?
I feel like it plays in my favor to it being a main event fight with 5 rounds. Like I said, I fought for the UFC. This will be my 4th main event for the UFC. So training for 5-round fights isn't anything different. When I fought for Invicta, I fought, I want to say 3 or 4 different main event championship fights. And so 5 rounds for me, I believe, play in my favor. I think as the fight goes on, I gain more energy. Whereas with Rodriguez, I think it's opposite. Even though she has a really good game face, and even though she's still game to fight in the 3rd round, she does slow down, and I'm looking to take advantage of that. Also, I'm coming from altitude, training in Albuquerque, so to me, I think it plays in my favor.
And breaking down this fight a little bit more, Rodriguez is coming off that impressive 2nd round knockout over Amanda Hibis. Let's break her down. What makes her so dangerous, Michelle? And where do you feel you have the biggest advantage in this fight?
Well, I think what makes her dangerous is she knows how to utilize her striking in a way that suits her. She's a tall, long fighter. And so she mixes up her striking. She throws heavy and she commits. I think that's what makes her dangerous. But on the other end of that spectrum, I've fought the best of the best strikers in the world with Rose and Joanna. You know what I mean? And I believe that outside of her striking, I trump her in everything. And with the striking, it's you know, I would even say that I trump her in the striking because she's very more traditional Muay Thai fighter where we know what is expected. I mean, but with that being said, you still have to be aware because obviously she does pack punch, you know, being able to knock out Rivas. But I think that my stand-up is a lot more creative, a lot more diverse. And, you know, I have a lot more tools with both of my stances, with my kicks, with my stand-up, with incorporating my wrestling and being able to utilize the cage.
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with my next question there. How do you think that your fluid movement is going to play to your advantage against someone who's a little bit more heavy on her feet and just wants to kind of march forward?
Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly what it is. Like, I know what her weapons are for sure. And I have to be aware of them, even though she might only have a couple of weapons. Those weapons are really dangerous. So as long as I'm aware of those weapons and as long as I go out there being me, like you said, flowing, being creative, having fun, doing what I love to do, my hand's going to be raised.
Awesome.
Michelle, as we're wrapping up, we appreciate the time. You mentioned Rose and having fought the current champ, Rose Namajunas, back in 2017. You know her well. Number one, what did you think of her performance against the former champ, Wei Li?
Oh, I thought she did amazing. You know, I think Rose is the type of fighter that when she decides that she wants to be there to win, that she does, you know. And what makes her so good is that she's her movement is she's very good at hiding her power shots. You know, she did it with all of us. With me, I know that there was a really good back and forth battle between the two of us when we fought. And I know that I was frustrating her because I got her to start, you know, talking to me and riling her up, you know, inside the octagon. But that head kick came out of nowhere. And it's the shots that you don't see that get you. And it's the same with Joanna. You know, she took that angle and dropped that heavy hook on Joanna, and Joanna didn't see it. And it's the same with Wei Li. I think she lulled Wei Li into thinking that she was going to go for that leg kick. And Wei Li pulled a little high and got caught. And she has a really good understanding of her range and when to use it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a beautiful breakdown on each of those right there. So with the big win on Saturday, and obviously, you know, you'll be returning back to strawweight, but when do you foresee another title eliminator fight on the near horizon, or what's that look like for you coming up in the future?
I mean, that's always the goal. You know, I'm climbing up the ladder, and so, you know, my focus mainly is on Rodriguez this weekend. It's a huge challenge that I accepted, and it's something that I have to give all my energy to. But for sure, I'd like to get another fight in before the end of the year.
Very nice. We hope so. We love to see you enter into that octagon. You know, Colorado is always behind you, Michelle. Fantastic that it's your fourth UFC main event. It's so well deserved. And as Jordan said, I mean, you get another win here, and maybe that next one gets you right into the title mix.
Absolutely. It better.
It better. There we go. If the MMA plug has anything to do with it, it will get you into the title mix. We'd love to see a rematch. But Michelle Waterson, we appreciate you so much. Thanks for the time, and have some fun in the octagon on Saturday night.
Will do.
Thank you so much.
All right. The MMA plug returns right after this.